step I take, I move my truth. Every time they tell me stop, I use every comment, hate that makes my fuel. Gather up my energy and boom, I hear them talking, saying the way that I move is so reckless. That is a part of my mind I've been blessed with, giving my blood so I am relentless.
All right, well, this is the Keep Hammering Collective, and I'm here with Chris Dudley. It's a huge honor. I say, I don't really know what to expect with this podcast ever, because we go from just, I don't even know what the topics we talk about, to now this is like I'm honored, and it's like I have so much respect for what you're doing. You're running for governor of Oregon as a Republican candidate, and you've been in this game before. You've been an NBA star. You've done so much, and it's a huge honor to have you here. And it's like I'm feeling a little pressure to be professional.
Well, don't no pressure, because the honor's mine. I mean, I've got to tell you, I'm honored and love your story on so many different levels, and I'm excited. I'm excited to talk.
Thank you. It's yeah. I mean, I never thought I'd ever have politicians on here, and I frame myself as the outsider coming in. Good.
So I'm not I'm as we talked about it, I'm doing it because I want better. I want better for a state. This is an incredible state. I want better for my kids, your kids. You know, we've got our kids are 6th generation Oregonians, and their eventual kids. And as we were talking earlier, and I know as you explore the state, it is an amazing place. And proud to be here.
Oh man, it's we get kind of painted with this liberal brush, or this, we got the crazy stuff that goes on in Portland. And most of the state, I mean, if you look at the state, you look at the voting in the state, in fact, it's mostly all red.
Yes.
There's a few little blue spots. Those blue spots have a lot of people in them, but we are a red state by and large.
Yes.
When you go outside of Portland, Eugene, or wherever, it's just conservative, hardworking people that love Oregon and love our country.
Yeah, exactly. And they're very frustrated by what's been going on. And it is, I forget the exact, I think I won 32 or 33 out of the 36 counties when I ran years ago. And there is a real frustration by the rest of the state that everything is dictated coming from Portland, in Eugene, those areas. And there's a frustration. There's so many just hardworking people want to put their heads down. They want to do what their families have been doing for years, and just want to be left alone and be able to do their work.
Yeah,
and they get frustrated. And I know you've dealt with this a little bit, where you have people saying, "Oh, they don't care about the environment." They don't, and they're like, "What? Our families have been here for 5 generations, logging, farming, fishing. We want it for the next couple of generations. We want to take care of it. We are good stewards, and we're going to pass it on to the next generation." And there's a real passion to that, as there should be.
Yeah, no, we are definitely tied to the land, and you even think about like how the existence of Oregon, but it's the people that survived the Oregon Trail, came all the way out here. We are tough, resilient people, right? And we appreciate the land. We love nature because that's our ancestries. That's how it worked. So we have this deep connection to it. And yes, farmers, ranchers, people who work in timber, that's who we are, right? And so we're always going to protect that. And it doesn't mean that we care more than most people about protecting that, I think, because of that.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny. My wife's grandmother, Emma's great-grandmother, my daughter's over there, used to take artifacts into schools from the Oregon Trail that came from her family. And it's just, there is that core, and what's always attracted me to Oregon. I came in 93 with the Blazers, and just that pride and that sense of independence and that toughness. And I think that's at the core of the Oregon I love.
Yeah, me too. It's one thing I do like about our political landscape. There's not much I like, but what I do like is that how we're set up is who's president sort of doesn't really matter for the states. The governors run the states, basically. So, because we have obviously Trump in office, and we have Kotek running the state. So Trump can't really, it's what she says, right? It's like what she promotes or pushes or whatever. So that gives me hope, because the presidential election, sometimes you're wondering, God, do we have anything to do with that? I don't even know. I mean, it's usually decided by the time it gets out here. It doesn't mean don't vote, but sometimes you wonder the value, or you hope you're making a difference. I mean, we got to vote because that's, not enough people do. But
absolutely.
When you talk about governors, you can make a huge difference in the state that your home state or whatever. And so I'm just curious. We haven't elected a Republican governor since '82. How can it be different this time with you?
Well, I think a couple things. One is, when I ran in 2010, it was the closest election in the past 70 years in Oregon. I had the highest vote percentage of any Republican candidate since Governor Tia in '82. And it's really running on a message that can cross party lines and say, listen, let's agree. And I come from a family that's got, I've got the left and I've got the right, and they're great people, some crazier ideas than others and all that. But it's being able to, and it's lost a lot today, but being able to talk to people and say, let's focus on the core issues that are facing our state, in that education. We're ranked 50th for fourth grade testing, dead last in the country. And I feel like sometimes I got to remind people there's only 50 states, so that means we're last.
That is not good.
That should not sit well whether you're Republican, Independent, Democrat. We all have kids. We all want our kids to do well. The economy, where we're ranked 47th in job creation. Again, we all need our kids. We all need jobs ourselves. That's a key issue. Livability, safety. It shouldn't be where my wife and my daughter talk. We live up in Sister, Central Oregon, an amazing place. But they shouldn't have the discussion. Do we need to carry to go for a hike? And it's crazy. It didn't used to be that way. So safety is a big issue. And then it's we've had an addiction crisis in Oregon from self-inflicted wounds of allowing drugs, and we're not just talking about, we're talking about poison. Literally, fentanyl. There's no good from doing fentanyl. It's literally killing people, and it's hey, can we agree that we should not be killing people on our streets? Yeah,
seems easy.
And so if you focus on the core issues and you do it in a way, I think you can expand you can talk to people, and also I'm really encouraged by younger voters. There was a study done that the young Gen Z, kind of the 18 to 24, 25, is one of the most conservative generations ever in the past 60 years.
Okay,
and I think a lot of that's from what we've been going through, from COVID, from what's happening in the schools. It disturbs me when, whether it's my own kids or talking to other parents, they'll say, when I'm in college, it was in college, I won't name the college, but it's, I feel like I got to write the paper a certain way that's going to agree with my teachers, professors' viewpoint.
Maybe
that's not right.
Left-leaning.
Yeah, that's not right. No. We've lost our way in so many ways. And the good news here is, and as I said, came painfully close when I ran last time. We had it one Tuesday night, and it felt like a loss in double overtime because it was Thursday by the time we'd lost. But even more now than then, nobody, as I've traveled the state, has said it's working. And that's some of my Democratic friends are saying, you've got to run, we got to change this, it's gotten crazy. And so I think there's a sense that there's a way here, the path, that people are tired of ricocheting, or not even ricocheting in Oregon. It's just so far away, just the craziness. It's, can we just focus, can we have government focus on the things it should do, which educate our children, keep our streets safe, on and on and on, just some of the basics.
I agree. I have a question, kind of like an overarching bigger question, because I tried to help Drazen last time, because it was time. It was like we had, God, now I can't, what was her name? Brown, right? Brown was before. Coach. And obviously people were burnt out on that. You look at Portland as a disaster. You're like, okay, this should be an opportunity to, maybe it can happen. What I was a little frustrated with was, I liked Christine. I liked what she was saying, but it's like, when you look at like this governor's race, because I know, and I was talking to another politician where this is just kind of big numbers thrown out, but she told me, she's like, to run for governor, 50 million, to run for president, 500 million. And I'm just like, is that really getting the people who can make a difference when you say you need 50 million to even play the game? So then you look, and I was like, okay, I didn't realize that. I didn't know it was like, I know money controls everything, but if we're eliminating people because they don't have $50 million, they might be the greatest leader in the world. But they don't get the opportunity. So then you look at like who campaigned here for Kotek, and it was Washington. Biden came out, Pelosi came out, Harris came out. Drazen didn't have anybody from Washington, but you're like wondering, okay, did that cost her? Did we need support from the big political names? But what happens, in my opinion, is Washington comes in, makes an impact, gets their person elected, then they're gone. They don't deal with it.
Right.
We're dealing with it.
Right.
They got her elected, but Drazen didn't get the support she needed from Washington to get the voter base mobilized, because sometimes they need to see those people they see on TV be like, yeah, okay, I need to go vote. Sometimes it takes that.
Right.
So tell me, how do you address the fundraising part, and then what's your thoughts on Washington support versus just grassroots support?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think there's a couple of things. And I'll start off with, I think it's very important as a candidate that you get out there, and you've seen this, especially President Trump did a good job with this, of being in different places and going beyond the conventional media to reach people.
Right.
And it's really important that you get you meet people where they're at, and you get out there and connect with them. I think one of the problems with any candidate in Oregon who's a politician from Salem, Republican, it's hard to win a general election because they can't earn that trust that's there. This election, it will be on the Democratic side. They will want to focus on federal issues because they think that wins for them. President Trump is not as popular in Oregon. They'll go right at that, where I'm going to say, no, we've got to stop that nonsense. We have to focus when our education system is dead last, when we're 47th in jobs and et cetera, when Portland's ranked 80th out of 81. We need to focus on Oregon, and that's going to be the core, and that's going to be a big thing where I'm going to be focused on Oregon. We need real solutions for our serious problems. The fundraising, it's not easy. I mean, it's the hard part. It's one of the hard parts of the job is making calls, because I can't make, when I ran in 2010, I felt like my opponent had to make 3 calls, the 3 big unions, and that was 70% of what he raised, where I had to raise from tens of thousands of people. And people say, well, you got Phil Knight. Well, yeah, Phil supported, but he was only 4% of my total raise. Right. So I had to reach out and had to get broad support, and that's incredibly important, and to get your message out there. And I think I am going to be so focused on Oregon. I'm trying to mitigate the coming in from Washington. Because you're right. A lot of times they'll come in, they'll come in, help, but then leave. And yet here we are. And I think the point being is, in Oregon, we've really had one-party control for 25 years, and here we are. And I would say, and when I'm running against Governor Kotek, I'm going to say, she's been in power for about 12 years, 8 as speaker and 4 as governor. And it's what metric? Name one area that's gotten better, and you can't do it. Yeah, you can't come up with one thing. I mean, even when we talk about environmental issues, and as we talked about, I hate that sometimes. I think as conservative, we should be on the offensive on environment, not on the defense, because we care passionately about it. But even there, you can't say it's working because of the wildfire problems we've had. So there's not one area that has gotten better. Education spending's gone up, basically doubled, up 80%, and our results have gotten worse. And it's so often, and I talk about, and this is the message I want to get out there, is that to me, leadership is a combination of empathy and accountability. The empathy is understanding what Oregonians are going through. empathy is being able to understand. And I came from a background, and I know you did as well. But I remember my whole family was educators, teachers, professor. I remember when my mom, when the car broke down, and being like, man, how are we going to pay for this? We're living month to month. That's hard. That's painful. And there's so many families. Real. It's real. So many. I mean, I think half the state is living month to month, and it's real. And it's having empathy for the parents that say, I want my kids to be ready to go into the real world when they graduate from high school. Yeah. And that's real. And so it's having that empathy, but then the accountability. And the accountability has just been totally missed, where we're just throwing money at problems, but with no results, no tracking. And I think that's where, and I come from, and I'd say, experience can mean different things. I think experience in political office can be one thing, and yes, there's value there in knowing the system, working the system. But I believe at this point, experience from I've been in the financial world. I've been CEO of a company. I've started a company. I've run a nonprofit here in Oregon for over 30 years. Having that experience, I'd say, is even more beneficial. Having a degree, I was economics from Yale. I know, I do think it makes sense to have a background in economics, and having signed the front and the back of a check, right. Know how to read financial, all that. I think that does matter. Run a business, but it's a combination. So it's not. When you talk about government, it's not just a business. It is a part nonprofit as well. It's almost like a nonprofit. But so and
you have people relying on you.
There's people relying on you, and when you throw these stats around, when you talk about these statistics, which are helpful in context, but behind each one of them is a story, and you're seeing it, and that's what I love is traveling the state. I used to with the Blaze, being a Blazer, you have people come up to you and you talk sports, whatever. But now when you're running, people come up to you and they want to talk about what's going on in their business and how it's getting hammered, and or just what they're seeing or what's going on in the schools, or and I enjoy that, and they're concerned. And for me, I'm not doing this because I need to do it, or I've been successful. I'm secure. I'm good, but I'm doing it because I just feel like we need a voice, and we need a voice that can win. And winning is important, as you know. And I think for me, it's my having been based in the Portland area, familiarity with it. People know that what I've done over the years, from nonprofit, from business, being on board, they know I've done it for the right reasons. And I think that really helps with people being comfortable with me. And I've shown that I can win it, came painfully close, but have the ability as a Republican in the state to resonate, to expand the tent and resonate across party lines.
Well, I mean, you're so varied in your experience. You mentioned all that, but the team environment, the business environment, the human, to play on a team at a professional level is hard. You got a lot of personalities you're trying to mesh and achieve a common goal, which is no different than being a governor, right? Yes. It's just everybody has their own agenda, like on a team. Yep. Everybody wants their points. Got to get your rebounds. I got a contract coming up. I got to get mine. But we still need to win. So I get that. I think, sorry to interrupt, but I think that's why it's important at this point in time for somebody from the outside to come in and not have all those you're seeing so often with on both sides. They're so divisive. They're so partisan right now. I think being able to come from the outside and saying, no, we need to lead, and we need to bring everybody, we're not going to agree on everything. I know that. Yeah. But kind of lead as the core mission. We may have different ways of getting there, but my mission is to improve these areas, not to score political points. If I'm there for 4 years and done, fine. Yeah. I mean, I don't even care. I'm not taking a salary. This is to get these things done and forget all the politics as much as possible and say, hey, let's
Let's work together because this
make a difference.
This is actually why you guys are supposed to be wanting to do this. To get things done. And there's no metric in which you can say we're succeeding. I mean, as the governor, I'd be mortified if I'd be so embarrassed if we were ranked 50th in anything. And across the board, we're in the bottom of just about everything. And at some point, that should really, really bother you. And it's like, how do we address this?
Yeah, no. Well, that's okay. I have other questions, but just for example, how do we rise above 50th in school education? I mean, what would you do to address that right there? Just that one thing.
Well, and there's a number of things. There's a number of parts to it, and like everything, it's complicated, but it's easy. And by that I mean sometimes there is getting down within the trees and managing different things, but you've got to be able to look above it and have a high level view. For one thing is with fourth grade testing, where we are ranked 50th, is the science of learning. And you've seen other states do this, where it's getting back to phonics on how we teach to learn, teach to read. And you saw Mississippi go from 47th to 5th by focusing on this. You're even seeing California adopt it because it's kind of proven now that we lost our way. We got to get back to the science of reading.
Back to the basics.
Basically. And the other one is, and I'll use the sports analogy here. When you're ranked 50th, if you're coaching a team or running a team that's dead last in its league, should you have the shortest amount or the least amount of practices of any other team? No. I mean, it's kind of common sense. It's like it's you got to put the time in. And right now we have the shortest, we have the least amount of school time, or bottom 3 or 4 of school time in the country. And you throw on there, we have a 34% lead the nation in absenteeism. So kids just are not in the class. And we got to figure that out. And we got to figure it out.
What do you think is the cause of that?
Well, I think there's a couple things. One is Oregon has, I think a lot of it comes from unions and contract negotiations, that sort of thing. But somehow we've gotten to the point where we require the fewest school days in the country, and we need to change that. We need to mandate. We need to mandate. It's part of it's part of the. But we need to be in class. It's just like, as you know, you get better by putting in the time.
Get in the gym.
You get in the gym, and you have to do it. Whether you, to me, that's a non-negotiable. We're not going to improve if a kid from Washington and a kid from Oregon, they both graduated high school. They meet. That kid from Washington has had the equivalent of 1 full year of school more than the kid from Oregon. We're not going to make it. We're not going to get better by having the least amount of practice.
No.
I mean, you know it well.
I think didn't Kobe talked about this, where if he got up earlier and practiced, he could practice like 3 times a day over 5 years. You're never going to make that up.
You're never going to make that up.
That amount of work you'll never make up. That's an example of it. You talk about it, and the kids, to me, is like, they would want every day off. So it shouldn't be up to them. It's like, make them go to school. They will do what they're told. Just make them go.
It might be good that the kids under 18 can't vote because they might not like that. But, but at the end of the day, kids do want to be taught. And they do want to be. It's interesting.
Just like discipline. We talk about, as a parent, kids need discipline, and they sort of want it because they feel safer.
As a coach, and I coached youth, and with my coach, I remember back when I played for the Knicks, and there was a new coach that came in, Jeff Van Gundy, great guy, and he followed Pat Riley, and Pat Riley was kind of.
I remember
dapper.
him on somebody's leg.
Jeff, I was on that team there. I was right there when that happened.
Whose leg was he on?
Alonzo Mourning. That's
right.
No, but Jeff was but you love that as a player. You love that. Hey, he's right there. He's
getting in the middle of it.
He's getting in the middle. And I remember him being concerned. He told the story, being concerned, talking to Pat Riley, who was Mr. GQ, Mr. Dapper, Showtime Lakers. Will the players respect me as their coach? And Pat Riley gave him great advice, which is yes, they will. If the players want a coach that will put them in a position to succeed, and that's so true. I want a coach that will reward effort. That playing time's not dictated by the front office, but it's what happens on the court. And I want you to drive me. I want you to get the most out of me. Help me get the most out of myself. And if you do that, and you know the coach cares about you, you'll succeed.
Right. Yeah. No, so the player's coach, that's the coach who doesn't hold anybody accountable.
Right.
And that works for a little while, probably. Not long-term success.
Maybe sometimes or it works a little bit when you have a top player who sets the tone in the locker room.
Right. Okay.
When I went to the Knicks, we were a hard-working team.
Who was the guy in the locker room?
Patrick Ewing.
Okay.
So Pat's the guy, and Pat worked his butt off. He's there early, he's there late. And so if you come in there, how are you going to work less than Pat?
Right.
You're not.
Yeah.
And so he helped reaffirm. And you saw that. And a lot of times in the NBA, a coach will be as successful as their relationship with their key player.
Right.
Like for Pat Riley, Magic Johnson set the tone, along with Kareem, but it was Magic. And with Phil Jackson, with Michael there. How are you going to not work, or how are you not going to be competitive with Michael Jordan setting the tone? It's a lot of times how those lead players set the tone in the locker room, and it goes down the line.
Well, there's that saying that you rise up to the expectations, right?
Yes.
It's like if there's not much expected of you, a lot of people aren't going to perform. But if all of a sudden I expect you to be here.
Yeah,
that's what it takes. So it's like when you're saying, like, as being governor, the expectations, 50 is not okay.
No.
So what are we doing? The expectation is being number one.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
What does a number one state for education do?
Well,
Let's do that.
Yes, exactly. And these numbers have consequences. When you talk about fourth grade literacy, it's a key point, because that's basically, there comes a point where you need to be able to read to keep going forward, that you're going to get behind. You're 4 times as likely to drop out or not graduate if you're not reading by 4th grade. You're 70% likelihood of being incarcerated. It just, the numbers are real. And there's a saying that I think it was President Bush put in, the bigotry of low expectations. It's like low expectations don't help anybody.
No.
And you see it with graduation here in Oregon. Yes, our graduation rates are starting to go up, but we've lowered the bar.
Yeah.
And so when 40% of your kids who graduate need remedial classes when they graduate from our high school, that's not acceptable. No. That's not a success.
No.
It's not a success by lowering the bar and saying we're doing better now.
No, I remember I had a seal on Eddie Gallagher, and he said that I think Obama wanted 500 more Navy SEALs. So they lowered the threshold for what it means to pass buds or whatever it was.
Right.
And he's like, that's not making more SEAls.
No.
That's like making more people who couldn't make it, all of a sudden they are SEAls.
And with the SEALs, and
that doesn't help.
No. And we have friends who are, and then you are putting that person, that graduate, at harm's way when things come, because they weren't ready for it.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing we're talking about. You graduate from high school, and now you need remedial. And by the way, you have to pay for those remedial classes when you get out of high school and going into college. And it's not, we cannot have low expectations.
And I think, the dollar is lessening a little bit because of inflation and things like this. But then also, if you're not prepared to get to work because you can't read, you can't. Then you're in this limbo, and you're just losing more and more ground.
Right.
The people who have that education, they're like, you're not catching up. It's a whole Kobe thing. It's like, now we're so far behind. When are we ever catching up? Right. And it's like, then people don't have hope.
Right.
So people without hope, that's a terrible place.
It is.
It is. I was thinking about this as we were talking. You mentioned Trump earlier. Do you need, as a Republican candidate, do you need Trump's support to win?
No, I don't think you do. I don't think in Oregon you do. I mean, I think you want, obviously you want, if a president will support you and you take it. You take it. You absolutely do. Mm-hmm. But I think for me, I'm focused on Oregon, and the less we're talking about national, the less we're driving people into their corners politically, the better for me, because I want to bring people together and be able to focus. And it's just hard where we get so polarized. It makes it a difficult situation.
Yeah.
And I tell you, I remember, like I said, my family, I've got extended family through marriage, across the board.
Yeah.
And told one family member, one grandparent on one side, hey, maybe a little less MSNBC because it's really riling you up. And then my other one, little less Fox because it's riling you up and it's making you guys. And unfortunately, a lot of this, the fear, anger are a drug. Yeah. And we're being fed that constantly. And it's like, hey, you're both great people. And you both want the same things. You want good for let's put, let it know when it's kind of getting you too ramped up, and let's get back and focus on good. And I think we need to, as a society, get back to that. Yeah.
It's the tribalism. It doesn't help anybody.
No, and the hate. It just gets too far too quick, and we need to be really, really careful of that. And that's where, I feel blessed growing up that my mom talked to me. She told me about, don't judge another man until you've walked a mile in his shoes. Let's be careful. And as a coach, I remember this. Coaching, remember when I was coaching high school, and there was a kid who had come in and transferred. I knew he came from a little bit of a tougher background, and he had a rough practice, and he was disruptive in practice, and we either had to throw him out or put him to the side or whatever. And then I found out later, his dad had been drinking and things had blown up that afternoon and before he came to practice. Okay. And so makes sometimes sense. you got to know what's going on and know we're human. You are human. Now, it doesn't mean you can mess up practice. It doesn't mean you can be disrespectful to anybody else, and there's consequences, but let's,
Yeah. When it comes to seafood, most people don't really know what they're buying, where it came from, how it was raised, or what you're actually putting in your body. I used to question all of it, nutrition, taste, sustainability, until I found Wild Alaskan Company. Wild Alaskan Company delivers 100% wild-caught seafood straight to your door. No farmed fish, no antibiotics, no additives. The first box I got was impressive. Perfectly portioned, frozen right off the boat, and packed with flavor. I've been cooking it simple, pan-seared, salmon, halibut, and cod, and it's some of the best fish I've had. My favorite is a wild Alaskan salmon. It's rich, clean, and loaded with omega-3s. Buying wild-caught seafood matters to me. It supports healthy oceans, real fishing communities, and gives you food you can actually trust. And the best part is, it's flexible. You choose what you want, when it ships, and it just shows up ready to go. And there's zero risk. If you're not completely satisfied with your first box, Wild Alaskan Company will give you a full refund. No questions asked. Not all fish are the same. Get seafood you can trust. Go to wildalaskan.com/Cameron for $35 off your first box of premium wild-caught seafood. Ketone IQ is now backed by research from KU Leuven and Team Visma. Ketone IQ is showing powerful results in helping your body bounce back quicker and push harder, especially in tough, low oxygen conditions. Here's what the science says. Number one, ketones support EPO production. Yes, you heard that right. EPO. That's a hormone that boosts red blood cell count and helps deliver more oxygen to your muscles. Two, they improve blood flow and vasodilation, getting oxygen and nutrients where you need them faster. Three, and also they enhance brain oxygenation for better endurance, sharper focus, and quicker recovery. Whether you're an endurance athlete, a weekend warrior, or just someone who trains with purpose, Ketone IQ is the edge your body's been waiting for. Ready to unlock next level performance? Go to ketone.com/Cam for 10% off and 30% off your first purchase. Like on the podcast, it seems like a lot of the ultra running girls are liberal, like left leaning type, which I don't give. Yeah. I like running with them. They're cool. Yep. But people, because of this tribalism I talk about, like the girl I just had on, Rachel, I think somebody made a big deal. She's got pronouns in her bio. And I'm like, So what?
Yeah.
Who cares? Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Seems silly to me. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
She's an amazing person. But when we're focused on stuff like that doesn't matter, it's like, I don't care how you voted. I don't care if you want to put a pronoun in your bio. Do whatever you want. Are you a good person?
Yes.
You a good person?
Yeah.
And that's good with me.
Yeah. Do you treat others with respect?
That's
right?
it. It's just like we can all learn from each other.
Yeah.
I don't care whether you're Republican, Democrat, liberal. It doesn't matter. It's like, can I learn from you? And I can learn from anybody.
Right.
I can learn either how I don't want to be, or I can take lessons that you've like, wow, I mean, Rachel taught me a lot. She's, been through a lot. And if you're willing and open, you can learn from, as I said, anyone. But yeah, I just when people focus on stuff like that, it's pretty frustrating, but that's kind of the culture of today. We have to like find something to tear somebody down with, it seems like, instead of, hey, can we get better together?
Can we get better, and can we actually focus on the issues that are really pressing?
What so on issues, like where do you differentiate from the Republican Party on any key issues, like or can you think of anything that you would side differently on that the party sticks to?
I'd have to think about that, and I don't know. I'd have to think about. Yeah, I'd have to think about that.
Yeah.
Where particulars. I mean, I think maybe. And when I think about why I'm a Republican, growing up, it was Abraham Lincoln, and then my generation, dating myself here, but I was in high school when Reagan came into office, and it was the shining hill and his optimism. They called him the happy warrior, and just how he pressed forward and had a vision for the country, and that was huge impact. I think as far as with the party, maybe it's not. I don't get as caught up like the issues you were talking about on the sides. I don't want to focus on the side stuff. I want to focus on it's kind of the, a lot of times, like you with Rachel, you might agree on 70% of the stuff and maybe not 30. Well, why don't we focus on the 70 where we can get the important stuff, or at least work together and not get so divisive on the stuff that to me is not quite as important. And I think that's, I get tired on both sides of the politics, or something goes wrong and everybody's sprinting to the microphone to weigh in where they have no idea what just happened, and they're just trying to get their points out and just inflaming, getting everybody riled up. And it's like, let's calm down.
Well, and normally when you had that common ground on the 70%, you can address the 30% more civilly and discuss it. And like you have this relationship because you're like, oh yeah, we agree on, what about this stuff? Could we talk about this? Yeah. And it's just better than going in. And right now, the political landscape especially is you go in both guns a-blazing and try to tear them down instead of like the olive branch type thing. Like, hey, how can we work together?
Well, it's we talk about it's if you're trying to win a debate and you're talking about policies, trying to win somebody over, you don't lead by, hey, you're an idiot. Here's why we should do that. It doesn't, as soon as you insult, it doesn't work. And so it's like, I think you lead by saying, hey, we've got a real issue here. And can we both agree that Oregon shouldn't be 47th in job creation, for example?
Yeah.
Or can we both agree that we shouldn't be number one in addiction? How do we, now let's look at how, now, and this is, you have to win this over, but let's look at what's working and what's not working. And before we put the DER, it's kind of look at what the solutions are and try to work together. And can we both agree that these things are incredibly important? It's, Portland's coming to that realization right now where they're in an economic, potentially economic, they call it economic death spiral, where you have the big office buildings, because of what's been going on there, selling for pennies on the dollar. And it was an eye-opener for me when a city councilor goes, oh, that's great, because now the rent is going to be pennies on the dollar. Well, first of all, kind of forgetting that somebody just lost $300 million, and probably will never invest in Portland again.
Right.
But second of all was that, and they didn't realize this at first and needed to, be brought up to speed, is, your revenues are now going to be pennies on the dollar.
Right.
Your taxes are going to be pennies on the dollar. And actually, it gets worse than that because all the buildings around that building are now going to they're going to ask to get reappraised.
Yeah.
And so you're not going to have the money for the services that we need and the services you want.
Right.
And you start and say, so this doesn't work. And so it's kind of starting there and saying, you can't there's things I know you want to accomplish, but you're not going to have the money unless we have a thriving business. We have people working downtown.
Yeah.
And, and so how do we get there? And then it's like, well, we've got to make people comfortable that they're going to be safe when they walk downtown. Then we've got to look at what's happening with homeless, with drug addiction. What we're doing is not working because we keep throwing more and more money at it, and yet the amount of homeless keeps going up. How do we address that? What are the different areas? So, whether it's addiction, treating mental illness, housing, or a hand up, not a hand out, as in far as helping somebody get a job and those sort of things.
Yeah, it's Portland. I mean, if we did a big road trip from down here and go to Portland, that was fun.
Yes.
Because Portland was cool. You could walk around. Nike was down there on 5th or whatever it was. And
sure.
like a bunch of cool, like I went there recently. Most of those buildings are vacant.
Yes.
And it's like, what is going on?
Yes.
And then we talk about making affordable housing. Well, we got, huge buildings vacant. And it's like, it just seems, if you can't look at that and say, whatever we're doing is failing, then I don't know what metric you're using.
Well, and that gives me encouragement. I mean, it's terrible that we've gotten to this point, but it gets me encouragement when, again, I haven't heard anybody, and I'm in Portland a fair amount in that area, say, and Democratic friends, liberal, whatever, say it's working. And I think there is, for the most part, and obviously not 100%, but for the most part, there's openness to, hey, we got to change what we're doing, and we got to do it quickly.
Yeah, it's a good example of you can make a difference. I mean, when I think of, I mentioned Rogan earlier, just when we were off record, but he was telling me he's going to buy this comedy store down there, build a comedy store down in Austin. And so he said, go check it out. We were down there with my family. And so we went, and it's like, it smelled like just piss. It was boarded up, it smelled terrible. I'm like, God, you're going to make this something cool?
Yeah.
And he did. And it changed the whole block.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Now you go down there, that stretch in Austin where the comedy mothership is vibrant and just people everywhere, businesses, people enjoying the night out.
Yes.
And it's like that, as I said, I walked by there, it smelled like urine.
Yes. Yes.
And there was nobody there.
Yeah.
So you can change things.
You can.
Portland can come back and be a beautiful destination again.
Well, you've seen it, I've seen it, and even just walking around, I don't know, last week or the week before, you get a sunny day, man, this place is awesome.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's a beautiful city. But then you get confronted with seeing different. Anyway, we've got to change it. I have a friend who's his family's a long time, buys buildings up and down the West Coast, office buildings, commercial buildings. They fix them up and lease them up, and he had texted me and said, we've looked at 4 possible buildings in Portland in the last 2 years, and we've passed on all of them. And he said it's not the condition of the streets now, because these buildings are selling at a huge discount, pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
He said, I just don't see a will to change. And so if you have a will to change, if you show that we're going in the right direction, that we're actually going to, I think you can get people to come back in and investors to come back in and say, no, we can make this great again. But you have to have that will to change.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I think we're in there's that another analogy where if you see an abandoned house, somebody breaks out a window, you don't fix it, all the windows are going to be broken. Yeah. Right? You have to address that stuff. You can't just let it keep going because there is no end. Everything's going to be on fire and there'll be nothing there. Well,
and it's brutal I've talked to business owners down there. It's brutal because they're paying the highest tax rates in the country next to Manhattan.
Yeah.
But
I didn't realize that.
Yes.
In Portland?
Yes, in Portland.
Wow.
They're also having to pay, their insurance rates are skyrocketing because because of crime, because of vandalism. They're having to pay to remove graffiti from their properties. They're having to. Some of them are paying for extra security, and it's just not. You have to change that environment.
Yeah.
And there's signs of it's getting gradually. It's getting better. It's definitely better than it was 2 years ago, but it still has a long way to go. And you just have to say that we're gonna get this to the place that it should be.
How do, as a candidate for governor, seems like a big challenge. How do you appeal to the voters of Portland and also the rural voters without losing either? Because it seems like the Democratic candidates, they go for the big numbers, right? And they don't really give much attention to the guys out there working every day, the construction, the farmers, the people. They're focused on the voters in the city. So how do you reach both and resonate with both?
Yeah, well, I think it's having messages that both can connect to, and that's why I'm focused on those key issues. Like I said, education, the economy, livability, safety, affordability. I think it's having one, they can tell if you're authentic or not, if you care. And I think that's something that you have to be able to connect, whether you're in Eastern Oregon, Southern Oregon, Central Oregon, or Portland. They have to know that you care about them. That one's very important. And then they have to know that you're going to focus on those key issues and not get, like we were talking about earlier, not get overly wrapped up and lose sight of your goal because of a pronoun or because of pick your other divisive issue. And I think that's too often what happens. And you have to be able to say, nah, let's forget that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm focused on these core issues that impact every family in Oregon. And so I think it's both. It's also so much of the state. And I loved it. When I ran the first time, I said, one of the first things I said is I'm going to visit each of the 36 counties. And so much, when I lost in that heartbreak, double overtime loss.
By 20,000 votes.
By 20,000 votes. What I felt bad for, I didn't feel bad for me, but I felt bad for the areas that, obviously I wanted to win. But I felt bad for the areas that felt so unheard and underrepresented. Because so often today's government, they just cater to the
loudest, usually.
To the loudest, to the most populated areas, and the rest of the state feels left out.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really connecting across the state, and I think it's very, very important that everybody feel a part of it, that the government's representing everybody.
Yeah, I feel like you're a very authentic person. I feel like, when you talk to some, I keep saying politicians. I don't look at you as a politician, but when you talk to them, they're like so smooth. And I'm not saying you're not smooth, but it's just like you feel like, am I buying a car? It's like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm getting ready to hear, like, what do I have to do to get you to take this car home today? It's like almost right there. And with you, it's like you've had, your experience is so varied. It's all these different settings, but you seem like so genuine and believable. So I think that's a huge part, because nobody wants to have some snake oil salesman just telling them what they want to hear and then nothing happens.
No,
right?
and nobody wants. And one thing I've done, it's just who I am. If I'm talking to somebody in Eastern Oregon or Portland, my message isn't. We might be more focused on certain issues in different places, because that's just the reality of those areas. But I'm not going to change who I am in one area versus the other. And I think the thing that drives people crazy is when a candidate is one way during the primary and then they switch during the day. No, I am who I am. I'm running on this message, and I'm running consistent all the way through. And I think that's important. And either you want that or hopefully you do, and it resonates. And I think it does. I think there is a thirst right now on both sides for someone who can help bring us more together, where we can actually function. And right now, the state government is so non-functional, is such a disaster on so many different levels. We just saw it with this gas tax initiative, and just what a disaster that was. But there's been such a lack of leadership and a lack of being able to bring, at least being able to, you're not going to agree on everything, but at least be able to talk to each other.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, common ground. So like when we talk about rule and different things, but how do you balance environmental protections with logging, farming, those agricultural things? So, because as we said, we care about that probably more than anybody, but there still is a balance.
There is. And timber, as you know, is a huge issue here. Mm-hmm. And I think I would make the argument that, and I don't know how anybody would counter it, that what we've been doing is not working, right? I mean, it's, we really got behind on managing our forests with all the lawsuits and the spotted owl and everything that happened there, and really shut us down. And I think that was seen as being good environmentally, but in reality it wasn't, because not managing made it catastrophic forest fires. Yeah. And we're seeing that. And the analogy I'll use for friends who are maybe, we live in sisters, we live in timber country, who aren't out there, is this: if you left your lawn and didn't cut it, didn't do anything to it for 40 years, what do you think it would look like? And would that be a fire hazard? Yeah. And the obvious answer is yes. Right. You need to manage it. You need to manage. We need to take care of wherever it is. We need to take care of it. Otherwise, nature will take care of it for us, and we're not going to like that. Especially as we've moved with houses deeper into areas that we weren't before. So we really have to get ahead of it, and we have to do prevention, because we can't keep dealing with the outcomes.
Yeah, I think the messaging is the key, because if you explain it, if you're in the timber, in the woods, in the mountains, and you explain like, hey, here's fuel. If this comes through here, if a fire comes through here, this whole thing's going up, and just explaining what it means to maybe selectively log, to a timber management program, to mitigate some of those, because these fires are burning hotter and faster than they've ever burned, because there has been no management, because it'd been like, oh, the environmentalists, they're going to chain themselves to a tree, no logging. It's like, oh my God, okay, we won't do anything. How about that? Are you going to be happy? No. Then they're happy until it all burns up.
Yeah, and then my wife always, she would laugh about that, that the person who's protesting is sitting on their wooden chair playing their wooden guitar. I know.
It's nuts. It's nuts. So when we talked about that, so I think with the timber management, that's the messaging. That's where it takes maybe you standing in the trees and saying, here's what we're going to do. But where do you, tell me your plan to get your message out? I mean, I think you mentioned it early on in this podcast where it's, the landscape has changed a little bit. How do you reach people? Podcasts are, Trump did a good job the last times. Probably why he won the election is hitting the podcast circuit, because that's where people are listening. They're not watching. They don't trust the news. Right. Some of the older people still watch Fox and MSN, as you said. Most of the younger voters, younger people are podcasts, social media. So what's your plan on reaching voters, and how do you get it, where's this going?
I think it's got to be all of the above, but I do think it's definitely paying attention to social media, podcasts, and you'll still have conventional media. There's certain places some places are more social and podcasts, some are more, still do the satellite, whatever. Right. So it's a combination, and then it's you've got to get out, and you got to travel the state. You got to meet people, spread the word. You get volunteers, and just get that word out there. I think one thing that the president did a good job of, and Madami did a good job. He completely different politically, but did a good job with their social media, was making it fun and making it and allowing their personality to come out. I think that's important.
I didn't notice. What did Madami do?
He did a good job of just being out there, talking to business owners, using more videos than to just. And I think that's
to resonate.
And to be. People want to be heard.
Yeah,
and I think you need to get out there, connect, interact. Too often, I think with politicians or people running for office, it's just preaching and telling everybody else what you're going to do. I think that's part of it, but you also have to be able to listen. And people want to know that they're heard and that the issues affecting their family, you're listening to it and you're concerned about it and you want to help them.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think getting out there, looking people in the eye, shaking their hand, that is huge.
It is. It is.
Did you get to all 36 counties in the state?
I did.
Last time?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
I don't know. Does that doesn't seem like it probably happens very often with
No,
tennis.
I don't think it does.
I never heard of that goal, but I like that.
Yeah, no, it was something I was proud of, and frankly,
great.
I enjoyed. We have a beautiful state, as we talked about earlier, and so it was. I enjoyed the process.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Now I'm going to go to. I never do questions, but it's like since this is so important, I'm like, I don't want to forget a question I should have asked. So I actually have questions which don't. I've always tried to be like Rogan. He never has any questions, like off the top of his head. And I'm like, well, I'm not smart, so that's the problem. I can't remember anything. That's another problem. So anyway, I jotted down some questions. So, this is like, why is Oregon becoming unaffordable for middle class families? What would you cut, freeze, or reform in the state budget specifically? Well,
I think there's a number of things for that. One, we have to have more jobs that pay more. Okay. We have to have good jobs. And when you're having jobs leave, that becomes a problem. I think our tax rates are too high. One thing that's overlooked is that talked about for high income, especially in Portland, we have the second highest tax rate in the country, second to Manhattan, second to New York City. But what's overlooked is we have the highest personal income tax rate in the country for working class, basically going up to 120 grand.
Yeah.
And it's the highest in the country. And that's something that I think I would want to pull that back immediately. I think people need relief. And they need relief as soon as possible. And then I think you look at it and you say, let's put everything on the table. So often taxes or regulations are passed and kind of with the expectations that they'll eventually sunset, or at least that's how they're sold, that we need to look at everything and re-examine what we're doing and look at what has, certain taxes. There is a benefit for certain things because for the services we want. But we also have to make sure that we're not just throwing money at where they're ineffective and reduce those taxes that have the worst impact, especially with the affordability. And there's a lot of different layers to the affordability. Insurance costs are going up. Housing costs are going up. Gas taxes are going up. There's a number of layers that we have to look at.
Why are we the most taxed? Why is that?
Well, I think it's... the big reason is that we've just been under one form of leadership for a long time, and it feels like every time the answer for every problem is more money, more taxes. And I think that's where I said leadership is about the empathy and the accountability. The empathy is, all right, we want to address those areas, but you got to be, is this effective? And what's the risk reward of this tax? What are the downsides of increasing these taxes? I don't think that's been looked at enough. And we need to audit. We need to audit departments that have gone up, doubled in size. Are they doing twice the work, or have they just gotten bloated? We have to put those audits in place and really examine, as you would any business. You would at least every so often look at them and say, is this effective? Are we doing what we're supposed to be doing?
You learned that at Yale, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly.
And I do, when I think about that, like decisions that have these long-term impacts, when you think about the spotted owl, as you mentioned earlier, that devastated our small logging communities.
Yes.
I hunt down outside of Coos Bay in Powers, Oregon, and that was a vibrant town with mills and people were working. And people who work in the woods or work in the mill, that's like a specific skill set. Yep. They're hard workers. They will do what they're told. They're going to show up. They're going to do it right. They're going to work hard. And when you take that opportunity away because you close the mill, because now you say, well, we can't harvest old growth anymore. It's not even, I understand we don't want to cut down 400-year-old trees, but there's a lot of logging that can be done.
Right.
But when you take that livelihood making opportunity away from people who they're just basically best at working hard, what are they supposed to do? They're not going to an office and doing spreadsheets.
No.
They want to either be in the woods or they want to work physically, because that's just what they enjoy and that's what they're good at. When that opportunity is gone because of these spotted out environmental restrictions, then what are they supposed to? What happens? The town, there's meth there, there's drug problems there. People lose hope, as I mentioned hope earlier, and you got to give people a chance to succeed, an opportunity to succeed, and we took that away.
Right. No, and it gets compounded by a lot of times these counties, maybe 50, 60, 70% federal lands. So if they're not having the timber, they're not able to generate revenue from 70% of their county, so they don't have the money.
Right.
And so that's a real problem as well. And so I think we have to look at different ways that we can either allow more working the land, or we have to look at other avenues, other things that rural Oregon and frankly the country, how do we help people with their career paths now? And it's an issue. How do we help our young men and women coming up who want to live in that area? We have to have jobs. I mean, there's places that are certain. I was just in Prineville yesterday, and they're doing good things there. And
what do they do? Like what? Give me an example.
Well, I just think of the sense of community that is there, the sense of supporting each other's businesses.
That's the beauty of a small town.
It is. It is.
That's what people lose or don't understand from big cities, is the community aspect of small town living. Yeah. It's like I'm from a small town, and we knew what was going on. We cared. Here it's so easy just to lock your door, or in town, lock your door, close your shades, whatever. You're on your own.
Yeah.
And that in small towns is different.
No, it is. And I was talking to, I'm trying to remember, I think he had a hardware store or something, and he was saying, I intentionally get everything I need from Prineville because I want to support the businesses around me. I don't go to the Costco in Bend. I don't go to, it's like I'm shopping local. And I think that's, like you said, that's the beauty of that small town that has that, they have each other's back, and that's so important.
Yeah, and that, I think there's some residual from being devastated basically by COVID, because it just killed small businesses. Restaurants had to close down. Nobody cared about that. They couldn't pay their bills. They couldn't have customers. All the mom and pop like hardware stores. Go to Walmart or go to Costco or whatever. And so it killed. Like so many people who had worked their whole lives to build something. It was such a tragedy. Then you wonder, was that intentional? And then that drives you crazy. Yeah, no. Because you're like, what is going on with our
And you
country?
have to be, you have to be careful when you have the big, whether it's the Walmart or you have to be really careful when the towns or the counties or the areas lose their character or lose their belief that the person can open a store and succeed, and it's not just all the national brands, and that can be a problem.
Yeah, it's I know. So there's a kind of a balancing act, because I've worked in construction. I was the superintendent over at the Water and Power Company for a long time, and I'm working with guys, basically guys like that I worked with. They like strong leaders, right? That's one reason why Trump resonated a lot with young men, because he came in, he didn't care about polishing up what he was saying. He was going to say, so there's something powerful about that, but then there's also a negative to it. So how do you balance like the messaging on like being a strong leader and being also diplomatic?
Well, I think it's having core convictions, sticking to those. And I think it's leading by example as well sometimes, is that you don't always, and everybody has your own styles, right? You have to be you. You can't try to say, oh, that one worked for him or this one worked for her. That's what
We've seen people try that.
People try that. You got to be you. And so for me, it's your strength and conviction, strength in who you are. When the time comes, you're going to stand up to whatever it is, or you're going to meet the challenge. How are you going to respond? And people see that. And so, but it doesn't mean you have to yell at all the, you can see some of the best coaches, sometimes they're not necessarily yelling all the time, but they're prepared. Their teams are tough. They're tough. Same with players. Different personalities. There's certain people that are kind of the, rah rah, whatever. But then there's other guys. You go, you don't want to cross him.
Yeah.
So it's be who you are, but be tough, be strong in your convictions, and show that you're not going to back down when something goes against those convictions. I think is important.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. I when I think about, like, I was thinking about the NBA when you were saying that, like, LeBron's been such this big figure, but it's like his coach. He's tough on coaches. It's wherever he goes. Like, I'm sure Redick isn't going to last long, probably, or maybe LeBron's going to be gone. But finding the right leader is tough.
It is, and it can be, and it's. Like I said, in the NBA, it's all but you.
Who was the best coach you had?
I had some great coaches. So I'm going to hedge just a little bit because I had some really good coaches, from Jeff Van Gundy, Lenny Wilkins, Hall of Fame. Yeah. Bill Fitch, Hall of Fame. I had Rick Adelman, who Hall of Fame, if he's not already. Mo Cheeks, PJ Carlissimo. Probably the best, and I only had him for 1 year. I really liked Chuck Daly. Chuck Daly.
Where was that at?
That was in New Jersey. He had won back-to-back championships for the Bad Boys in Detroit. And what I liked about Chuck was that you really got the sense that what you did on the court mattered. He wasn't caught up in all the other stuff, that can be out there, what's going on with contracts or the agents complaining or it's like, no, we're all about winning. And you believe that in him. And he was
walked the walk.
He walked the walk. Yeah. But Rick was an unbelievable coach too, Rick Adelman.
He seemed more like subdued though.
He was fiery. More subdued, but again, it's I'll give you a side segue here a little bit. I was up in Central Oregon. Actually, the person I was with, she's an assistant basketball coach up there, and her family had bobcats living in their house. But anyway, that's a whole nother story.
That's kind of cool. Got some personality.
But I was asking her, we were talking about coaching, and in today's world, the kids have so many different options. They're being recruited by other high schools, AAU. They're jumping from team to team to team. And we were talking about it, and she said she asked her star player, which coach, who's been your best coach? And she was and she said, the coach I'm with is really a hardliner. He's tough on him. And so I really didn't think she was going to say him, because she played for a couple other coaches, in AAU, they're always recruiting, and it's a little whatever. And she said, actually, it's our coach. And she said, why is that? I'm surprised. He's really tough. And she said, because I know he cares. And he wants me to be better. Yeah. And even though he was demanding and he was tough, you can be demanding and tough when they know you care and you're doing it for them.
Right. Yeah. And be consistent. Because I think, people, if you're just tough and then all of a sudden you're over here doing something that contradicts being tough on this, it's like.
Or if it seems like you're getting enjoyment making them run.
Yeah. Yeah. No. So, that's interesting. I do, as we talked about with kids, that, they want discipline. They're happier when people, because usually when you're disciplined, it means somebody cared about something. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And
I got a question for you too.
Oh boy.
Before we're done, you can keep going.
No, do it.
No, it's and knowing a little bit of your history and something you heard. It's been I've thought about this, and it was where you said to succeed you have to find your passion, and I've always felt like that too. And my passion was playing in the NBA, was basketball. And I wasn't that good growing up. I was a late bloomer. I didn't share that with anybody because that would have got laughed at. I didn't make varsity until my senior year. Came down with type 1 diabetes my sophomore year. So I was a long shot. And I kind of hid, but that was my passion. It drove me. And I worked hard. I felt like I worked harder than anybody I knew. But someone else told me, they said, No, I mean, yes, to succeed, it's helpful if it's your passion, but really you got to find what you're good at. That if you can be passionate about something, but if you're not any good at it, it's not going to succeed.
Right. Yeah.
And so that kind of gave me a little pause. It was like, maybe there is a point. And I was just wanting to get your perspective, because obviously I ended up growing, and so I did have natural God-given talents that helped me with basketball, but that passion, I think I wouldn't have made it if I didn't have that passion.
Luckily, your passion wasn't being a horse jockey.
Yes, exactly. And so I was kind of wondering if do they go hand in hand, or how do you, which is it that when you find something that that triggers your passion? I don't know. And so I was just kind of curious your take on that.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's my son is kind of involved in this a little bit, because I always told him running was his gift. He hated running, right? I'm like, whatever, you might hate it, but it's what you're good at. So then finally now he's like, now he wants to make the Olympic trials in the marathon. And, but then part of it to me we were talking, I had him on the podcast not long ago, and I'm like, he's like, do you think I can do it? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, because you can want to do it as bad as anybody. You can work your ass off, work harder than anybody. If you don't have this level of talent to run this time, to your point, what are you going to do, right? So I changed my mind after we went and we ran on the track, and I'm like, okay, I think you can do it, because you were just flying really easily. And but yeah, I mean that does make perfect sense. Is I think there has to be something in both, right? I mean, you're never going to succeed if it's not your passion, but if you don't have that talent, then.
And how do and we're talking about this. And you were mentioning rural Oregon, or anywhere in Oregon. It's probably, as you know, the anxious generation. The kids are struggling in a lot of different ways. They're trying to find their path. And for you, I know with your story, you bow hunting, being introduced by your friend, took you away from probably not a good path. To discipline to go there. How do we help people? I mean, is that just, how do you, and I think about this as, from government or schools, I mean, how do we help people find that path, find that passion? It's something that kind of, I think about a lot, and how do we help people?
Well, I have a big advantage over you, because I look like I have no physical gifts. You're 6'11" or 7 foot. How tall are you?
6'11".
Yeah, so you can't really control your height, right? Either you have it or you don't. With me, my story, I think, has given people like me hope. Because if you looked at the broken home, the alcoholism, the small town, I wasn't great at really anything. And still, though, I had this drive. So it's like, I think the message is that, and what I've tried to explain in my books, that it doesn't really matter what it is. I rode bow hunting to this opportunity to talk to you.
And I had drive also. Is drive, are you born with drive, or can it be, I don't know. I don't always know why I had it. I always had a chip on my shoulder. I was always like, I want to beat that. I just.
So when did you get your opportunity? Like you said, you were a late bloomer. The diabetes. When did people start to say, "Hey, this guy can actually ball"? When did that happen?
So I got by my senior year in high school. I was pretty good.
Okay. And where did you go to high school?
I was down in San Diego, Torrey Pines High School.
Okay.
And I went, then I was recruited and got good advice, which was go to the school with the best academic school, because in case it doesn't work. And I was like, okay, but I'm still going for the MBA, but.
Was it a scholarship, or were you good at school?
Financial aid. It was kind of, you don't actually get a athletic scholarship, but you get in, or you get help to get in by excelling in a certain area. Okay. And so it helped me to get it. I mean, obviously you have to qualify and all that.
Yeah.
But so I went there, and then by the end of my freshman year, I was starting, and it was really, I think it was my freshman year or sophomore year. One of our players was from North Carolina, from Chapel Hill. And I'd go down and work basketball camps with him at Dean Smith, the old Carolina. And
Legend.
Michael Jordan was down there, Brad Daugherty, Brad Daugherty, Perkins. It was some of the best pickup ball in the world.
Wow.
And I was playing there, and I'm going against Brad Daugherty, I played with later, but he was going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. And I'm not going to say I was dominating, but I was holding my own.
Okay.
And so it was at that point, yes, it was at that point that I said, I'm going to be able to play either in Europe or in the NBA.
And that was after your freshman season?
I think it might have been after, it was either freshman or sophomore.
What were your numbers like as a freshman?
No, I don't know, remember. 5-6 points, maybe.
And then did you stay at Yale the whole time?
4 years. I was all league my last 3 years.
Oh, gotcha.
So I got really good. By my sophomore year, I was good.
Okay. And that was, you got that opportunity to ball out with some of the best?
With the best. And I was working hard. And part of it's, I was super, you're kind of growing in your body. And I'd put on weight. I'd gotten strong. I'm in the weight room all the time. I'm working out. And it finally started to kind of click.
Was that on your own?
Yeah, a lot of it.
Yeah.
A lot of it. I mean, it's back then, it wasn't quite the, you didn't have all the help and the trainers. And I mean, it's incredible now with, I see the kids everybody's got a trainer, everybody's got this, back then it was kind of, I was doing in high school, remember looking online, somehow I got connected to Russian plyometrics. And so I'm out on the track by myself, doing box jumps, doing all this stuff.
I've seen that old footage of what the Russians did.
Yes.
Freaking intense.
Intense. And it was like, oh, this is cool, you know, and then I'm jumping rope all the time because you had to get, just had to get quicker.
So you outworked everybody.
So I outworked everybody. And it doesn't always happen the next day. Sometimes that work pays. Yeah, that work pays off over time, and it all started clicking. And then my body caught up, and so by my sophomore year, I was good.
Did anybody tell you were wasting your time? I mean, do you have people? You said you had a chip on your shoulder.
Yeah.
What do you remember about that chip?
Oh, just people saying you're never gonna, what are you doing? You're never gonna be that good. You're, whatever. Or it was, I would always. I know the kid that was getting recruited by everybody that was all, I just wanted to kick his butt. I just wanted to, it's kind of like when you play, it's like the first, or if you go against them, it's like early on you test them and you just put a bow in his chest and see how he responds. Yeah. And then it's, you kind of know where you're at. And so it was just driven by that wanting to succeed and just a passion. It's like I love this. I'm going to be better, and I'm outwork you, and I'm outworking. I'm going to get better. Now, you do get to a certain point where I got to the NBA, and I'm like, well, I can work all I want. I'm probably not going to be able to do what he does. But it still doesn't stop you. No, and so that's
like,
fun.
Yeah, it sounds like you had a goal, and you just made it happen. I mean, you had some gifts, you had some God-given stuff, obviously height and things like that, but it sounds like you just had to overcome and just put in work, and it was a long game, and you stuck with it.
Well, and I also don't know, I always believed in myself. And I don't know if that's why that was that way or not, but I always did.
Where did this belief come from?
That's what I'm at.
I mean, because parents say you can be with anything you want. You can be the president if you want, and it's just like, no, you can't. But so where did that come from?
I don't know. I don't know if it was, my grandfather was a pastor and his faith, or maybe just inner belief, or just being kind of believing that if you put in hard work, it'll pay off. And I think I also had the understanding that if I don't get to the NBA, that's okay. That I'm going to give it everything I have and no regrets, and I'm going to enjoy the journey no matter what. It's not as much always about the outcome as it is the journey and pushing yourself. And so I think, and I just, for that, just having that really helped me, because getting diabetes back then was a big deal. In 1981, and I was the first player to play in the NBA with diabetes.
Really?
there's only been 2, and that was the first one.
Who was the other one?
Adam Morrison out of Gonzaga.
Oh yeah,
Remember Adam?
Him.
Yeah.
He was number 2 pick, I think.
Yeah,
wasn't he?
Maybe 4, but he was a great player and good guy. So having that belief, and I was a 4th round pick. They don't even have 4th rounds anymore. And it's, it's probably a 1% chance of being able to make it. I was the only one from my town who made it, and so on and so on and so on. And so, but it's just having that belief, and you know what? I'm going for it. I'm gonna give everything I have, and I know I can outwork you. I'm gonna outwork those guys, and I'm gonna make this. But I also think if it didn't work, and I think those are great skills to have for life anyway.
Yeah. Did you said you were going to enjoy the journey? Did you enjoy all of it? Did you enjoy?
I mean, there's times you don't. I mean, certainly playing in the NBA can be tough at times where you're just on the road all the time, and all those things. But overall, yeah, I did. I did. I really enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed the most is where you're putting in, you're working so hard, you're getting better, and you're seeing those jumps. That's fun, and then making it. I think at times at the end where it becomes a little bit more of the business side, and then your body certain things start happening in your body. It's where injuries and that it becomes a little bit tougher. But I'll tell you, every time I walked into that locker room and I saw my uniform on the chair, I was like, this is the greatest thing ever.
That's pretty amazing.
You never want to lose that sense of awe that, man, that's Larry Bird, that's Michael Jordan. That's it's pretty cool.
What's your highlight you think of when you think back on your career? What stands out?
I had games that were really good and different, but I think when I was in New York and we went to the NBA Finals, that was pretty cool. And I was Patrick Ewing had gotten hurt, so I was starting and going through and making it, beating Indiana in the conference finals, and being on Madison Square Garden, having done that was cool.
Yeah.
And then I loved my year with the Blazers. I mean, that's where coming in, literally fell in love with Oregon. There's such good teammates with Clyde Drexler, Jerome Kersey, Terry Porter, Buck Williams.
Oh man,
just great guys. And that was a lot. That when you retire, you miss the competitiveness and you miss the camaraderie. And it was going to battle with guys, and kind of going back to the politics. You learn. You come from completely different backgrounds across the country. People coming from everywhere. And, it's pretty cool when you get that team where, hey, this is our common goal. Let's go for it. Everybody understands their roles. And that's special.
I think just being an athlete just gives you a different perspective on life, and competition. And that, I've told my boys their whole life is competition.
It is.
If you want to win, you're going to have to get to work and be the best, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, so I think we learn valuable lessons that can show up in politics, maybe for you coming down the road, or, just at your job. But I think just being an athlete is such a benefit.
Well, and I think, it's kind of become a saying, enjoy the grind. But I think there's a lot to that. And you can look at that, whether it's enjoy the grind or work for God, in everything you do. When you enjoy that, when you say, hey, this is pretty cool that I get to do this. I enjoy traveling the state and meeting people. I do. And it's like, I don't want to be outworked. I want to be everywhere. I want to do everything. And I think that's, you enjoy the process.
Yeah. No, I like that. I did want to ask you about.
Sorry, I took you off.
No. It's a stupid one. It's this Initiative Petition 28. Have you heard about this? Right?
Yeah.
Also known as
ridiculous.
the People for the Elimination of Animal Cruelty Exemptions Peace Act would amend Oregon's animal cruelty status by removing many current exemptions that allow lawful animal use in things like farming. Blah blah blah. Anyway, here's what's crazy: is it would make it a crime to intentionally injure or kill animals, even in contexts that are currently legal, like hunting, fishing. So what is up with this?
Even ranching. I mean, we
farming,
live up
ranching.
in Sisters. We have cattle during this. We're seasonal, but we have cattle, and I think it's ridiculous.
How does this stuff I always get pretty frustrated, not just with this, but like you get these big bills that pass and like all the stuff thrown in there, right? But how does this stuff even get momentum? I mean, I don't know.
That one is so, I don't even know where to start on that one. I mean, it's just so ridiculous. It's and you know, the thing that is frustrating, and I know you with what you do with hunting, and I've done a little bit of hunting, you know, but nothing to write home about. But there's a sense of you appreciate the animal. You appreciate what the animal gives you. You're not, and I always respected Native Americans for how they honored the animal.
Right.
And I think that's important.
Yeah,
I think it's, you know, I'm a believer you eat what you kill. You know, I don't think you just do it to do it. You know, and I think that gets lost with it. And it's also, you know, obviously it's silly when it goes to ranching and chicken. I mean, what are we going to, you know, it doesn't make sense. But I think it's disrespectful to ranchers, to farmers, to hunters, and doesn't know where they come from. And it's also incumbent on those of us who do hunt to explain it. And to do so honorably. And I think what's lost a lot of times is with hunters is you want to take care of it as much or more than anybody else. You want to preserve it. You want it there for the next generation. You want to take care of it.
What I've always said is like hunters respect life more than a non-hunter does, because we've seen, you know, we hunt, we kill, blood's on our hands literally, and we understand what it takes, that animal sacrifice for us to survive. Whereas most people, 97% of our country eat meat. They're not faced with that. They trade a checkbook, a credit card, some money for a steak. They don't know, they're not connecting the dots that's an animal that died, right? So at least hunters understand that connection, and we value it. And because of we've been involved in the circle of life and death, we respect life and death more than somebody who's never done it. But in my opinion, this is another example of, I think, I don't know who they are, but whoever, but want to make us consumers eating like contrived, I don't know what meat, not real meat, but dependent and basically just a consumer that just relies on the government for everything. And it takes our self-sufficiency away. It takes our ability to provide for our families, you know, and through hunting or fishing away, or even through ranching with this bill.
No, it's crazy. And I think one thing that COVID should have taught us is we can't as a country lose our self-sufficiency. We need to be able to provide for ourselves. We need to be able to, because what's going to happen if that went through? All right, so now you're importing from other places, or you know, it just doesn't make sense. No. And I think I think it's, you know, I believe in, you know, whether outdoor school training, going out in the wilderness or the woods for kids, just having a respect for nature. I think that's so important. Not just going to McDonald's and getting a Big Mac and having no idea where where it came from. I think it's really important. And as you said, when you go through and you go hunting, especially the way you do it, you have an even greater appreciation of those animals, because of what they have to survive, what they have to do to live outside, and to be in the open and be able to go over some of the terrain that's just crazy terrain. Amazing. They're amazing, and you have a great respect for them.
No, it's and you know, Oregon is special in the remote places we have, the incredible animals we have here, from deer, elk, bears, sheep, goats, everything. I mean, we got it all, and it's so valuable. But we need to honor it, but honor it correctly, because these animals need to be managed, right? You can't just stop hunting. Because when you stop, people always say like, "Oh, well, Mother Nature will balance itself out." Now it's going to be drastic swings one way or another, and it's not going to be great.
Disease
with man involved, We can let biologists do their jobs. But this takes away all that opportunity from doing it right, from Oregon Fish and Game doing it right. But when we do it right, the animals thrive, right?
Right.
We thrive.
Yeah.
We get opportunity to grow as humans, to appreciate life and death, as I explained. But when you look at it now, they want to stop hunting and fishing. There's more deer, elk, bear, and turkeys now than there was 100 years ago.
Right.
So
Right.
our North American wildlife model, which includes hunting, is the best for the animals also.
Right.
Habitat animals, because you start taking away hunting, that's all the funding for to take care of these animals, right? For fish and game. They rely on hunters' money. PETA's not given, they might give money one time to win an election, then they're gone.
Then they're gone.
And these animals suffer.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, this is, it's a joke.
I couldn't agree more. And I think the more you can advocate and say that, tell that story, and I definitely I will be as well. I think it's important. And it's not just that people are going, there is a system put in place to manage it. And that system has paid huge benefits. Yeah. And we need to continue.
Yeah. Well, this Initiative Petition 28 would make it a criminal liability for pet owners. It's just like, it's so nuts. So when you guys see these, when voters see this, yes, we want to vote for Chris for sure for governor, but we want to get rid of this thing too, because they still are, they're trying to get signatures. We need to shoot that down. It just doesn't make sense.
Absolutely. I don't know how you sign anyway, but agreed.
Well, Chris, I mean, it's been a great discussion. Do you have anything you'd like to close out with that we didn't cover?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I think one thing we talked about reaching out to a broad audience is that your vote does matter. It matters that you're registered to get registered for the primary, for the general election, that you vote, and that there is a real opportunity. I think when I saw it in 2010 when I ran, that Republicans were kind of down. Wow, that my vote doesn't matter. We always, we're going to lose. Yeah. It's like, no. There's an opportunity here. Let's talk to your neighbors. It matters. Yeah, it matters. And one thing, they're going to have to listen when people get energized. Yeah. And we need to get energized and say, this is not right the way our state's going. Our state has so much going for it. So much going for it. There's no reason we should be in the place that we are. And as I've traveled the state, and as I said, talked to people across the political aisle, political spectrum, two things emerge. One, the love of Oregon, that people really do care about their state. But two, that things aren't working, and we need to change and do so now. And so I'd ask people to help join, and let's get this done. Yeah, no, I agree. I did want to mention, because I said some people, sometimes the presidential election is decided by the time it gets out here, but I don't want anybody to take that to mean that our vote doesn't matter, because as you said, it was so close with you last time. I mean, every vote for the governor for sure matters. And every vote on every state-related issue matters for all residents of Oregon. So yes, get out there, vote. I mean, we know what works and what doesn't work, that hasn't been working that great for the state, for the people that love Oregon. So I think it's time for a change. I mean, I don't know what Tina's plans are, but her approval rating's pretty low right now, so people aren't happy. No, she's got like 65% disapproval or something. Yeah, it was a huge number, and I think she's had 12 years from being in the Speaker of the House to the governor, and it's just nothing has gotten better, and it's not going to change. It's not going to, and that's why I'm pretty passionate that we need somebody from the outside who has executive experience, who has qualifications, to be able to lead, because this partisanship of just yelling at each other and kind of the bickering back and forth, but not focusing on the court, it's not working. We've got serious issues. Yeah. Now, the good news is that there are solutions, but we need someone who can focus on those. Yeah, well, I mean, I love this discussion. I love what you stand for. I love, the platform you're running on, and how the love you have for Oregon and your family's included is pretty cool to see. Yeah. It's just, again, it's a big honor to have you here to talk. This isn't my best topic. Like if we talk about running, I'm a little more comfortable. But it's, again,
it's a huge honor, and I would, I'm on your side.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, Cameron. Thank you. It's been an honor.
Thank you very much.